Good evening, all. So today I will talk about my experience with cars and my experience with getting driving license. So one of the funny facts about myself that I got two driving license, one from Jordan and the other one from UAE. The first one I got it when I was 19 years old, and the second one when I was 20. However, the first car that I have that I have driven, my age was around 26. So I definitely does not advise, I definitely do not advise to get a driving license without a car, or to spend a very long time before driving your car. So if you want to get a driving license, it makes sense that you actually drive afterwards. Because if you spend a very long time between getting the driving license and driving, maybe you can forget some of the driving rules on some of the driving techniques. So it will be a little bit harder for you to get accustomed to the things that you have been training for. So that's the first fun fact. So when the first car that I have driven, it was a rented car, and it was a very small car. And at that time, I did not know what to do. I just switched on the car and start driving, and it was a very scary experience because it has been 6 years for me without driving in a car. Then I went to the street, and slowly I started to get gain back my confidence. I remember that I could not make a left, a U-turn. I remember that the U-turn was was a little bit difficult for me. So I would be hesitant to do U-turn, so I will go around the blocks, just doing first left, then go let me say 100 meters, 200 meters to the second street, then go left again, then do left again, instead of making a quick U-turn. So I was a little bit scared in the early days, but eventually it worked. I have driven for very long distances in the first time, in the first period that I started driving my car. And maybe sometimes I used to drive maybe 600 kilometers a day, sometimes more, driving from Dubai to Abu Dhabi, and from Abu Dhabi to Al Ain, and from Al Ain to Dubai, and so on, and sometimes very long distances. So when I start driving with this, when I start driving, I start driving for very long distances. Although I did not drive from one country to another till this date, but in the beginning it was really maybe 300 kilometers, or maybe 200 kilometers per day, or something like that, especially in the beginnings. So that was my experience with getting a driving license and with how to drive. I think what I advise is, if you want to buy a car and you are a new driver, I would advise that you buy a cheap but safe car, because eventually you will do few accidents, you will do few mistakes, so you have to be a little bit careful. So it does not worth it, like, to spend a lot of money on maintenance. Even if you have insurance, sometimes you make a full insurance and you have to take the car to the mechanic and you give it for a few days, and so on. So I would say that it's better that you start with a small but safe car. Always put your seat belt, and drive slowly until you get accustomed to the steering and you get accustomed to the gear. So now about failures. So in the beginning, I used to change a lot of batteries. What happens is that I used to forget the lights on. So I woke up the next day and see that the battery was finished. So I have to change it, and it happened again and again and again. Then I started to remember, and it had become a habit for me that whenever I leave the car, I always switch the lights off. The second thing that I did not know, and I wish that I have known earlier, is to keep good maintenance of your car by changing the oil according to the oil distances, every 3,000 kilometers, every 5,000 kilometers, and maybe every 10,000 kilometers, depending on the oil you change and depending on the amount you put. So I would definitely advise that you stick to these to change the oils and filters, because it's a very important element of your car safety and car reliability. And if you did not do that, most of maybe you could lose the engine. So keeping track with changing the oil on time is a fundamental aspect of how to deal with the car, with your car. So about how to buy, let me tell you another funny thing, that I used to get a lot of fines. So and this is like a very funny thing. So usually when you get a fine or when you get a speeding ticket, it's something that people talk about for a long time. They say, the other day I took a speeding ticket, the other day I have made a driving fine, or I made a mistake, or I got a parking fine, or so on. But in Dubai, it's like the norm to get a fine. Like everybody get fined all the time. So they all have like speeding tickets because of radars and so on. And in many cases, you are accustomed to drive at a particular speed. Then you take one road, and suddenly you discover that the speed has changed, and there is one speed camera there, and suddenly just get caught, and you have to pay, and it's 600 pounds, so 600 dirhams. 600 dirhams, it's around, and you can say 100 pounds or 120 euros, or at least 120 euros or 140 euros. So it's not a cheap amount. That is being said. About car maintenance. So sometimes if one element of your car broke down, like the gearbox, just forget about it. Just change the whole car, or if the engine was broken down. So it does not worth it. So you have always to be careful when to buy and when to sell the car. And for me, I consider cars to be a good investment. So if you are using them, and maybe if your family members are using them, so usually cars tend to be a very good investment. Sometimes they keep their capital. You can buy the car, and after some time you can sell it, and maybe you can keep 60, maybe some 70, 50% of the car value, which is I would say it's something good. So I would say if you are using the car, cars tend to be good investment, or at least they have been good investment for me. But it's better to buy them new. It's better to buy them reliable. It's better to buy them in a great quality, except if you are an expert, and you don't become an expert by just reading about it. It's about experiences, and having this failure, and having another failure, and having a third failure, and going to the mechanic first time, and going to the mechanic third time. So you start to gain experience about different car parts. It's good if you have some knowledge. So I would advise that you spend some time listening to others, and what problems they have faced for fixing their cars or for maintaining their cars. Now, about accidents. So yes, I have made few accidents. One of them was a very dangerous one, and thank God I have come out of it safe. And it was a horrendous accident that I would advise that you should never use your mobile phone while you are driving, never text while you are driving. It is a very dangerous habit, and it can lead to your death. So, but by all means, you should always keep your seat belt. So seat belts, especially if you are driving on a highway, or in any place, if you are driving on a highway, it can be a lifesaver. So keep your seat belt on, and never text while you are driving. Accidents, in many cases, they are very minor, because your reaction would be able to reduce the accident impact. But in very rare situations, they can be deadly. And if they are deadly, so you have always to take all the precautions, and the minimum precaution is to put your seatbelt. That was my quick intake on cars. It's not a big experience, but it is something that's worth telling. What I consider when I buy a car, I consider a few things. So the first thing I consider when I want to buy a car, I consider the shape and the design of the car. So how it looks from the outside, For me, I would like it to be a little bit, it has some kind of a business aspect, but it should not be very luxurious because you need to keep it within the budget. So you maybe don't buy the high class BMW or Mercedes or Tesla or Ferrari or Lamborghini or Range Rover. So these maybe you keep them at a later stage in your life, especially in the beginning. But you always need the car to look good, so you are always proud for driving it in the street. You always want the color to be attractive, and so on. That is being said. Then the second aspect is that you need to the second aspect is you need to look at the seat. So car seat is a very important aspect for me. So if you are not comfortable in the car seat, just don't buy it. It does not worth it. Some cars really are for you, others are not. So let me say how comfy is the seat is something that you should always consider, especially if you are driving for a long distance. So the seat should be really, really comfortable, so you can sit there for hours without getting bored, without keeping moving up and down, and so on, without adding a pillow, without adding all of these elements to make the seat more comfortable. So yes, that's the seat. That's the seat. And the third aspect is the engine. So I would sometimes, if you buy really cars with a small engine, you would end up in seeing that the car is not giving you the torque that you want, that you are trying to push the pedal again and again and again, but the car is just not moving with you as you want, and you keep pedaling the car again and again, but no. So uh, this is something you should always try to buy, at least a car with a decent motor power, or with a decent engine power, or with a decent horsepower. So, and one more thing, if you change the car suddenly from a car with a, let me say, with a small engine power or with low engine power to a car with a very large engine power, like 6,400 or maybe 8,400 cc and so on, you would really you would feel the power of the big car, which might really affect your control. So take it slowly and find the right engine range for you, and the kind of engine that if you push the pedal, if you press on the pedal, at least you feel that, yes, the car is giving me the speed that I feel, the torque and the drag that I feel comfortable with. And also you should look at stability. Some cars are really light. You just speed a little bit and you feel the car is shaking with you, so this is really a very dangerous car. But other cars really are very stable on the ground, regardless of the speed. You feel the car is really stable. You are driving while you are at a high speed with a great stability, straightforward, and without any let me say without any problem, or without any feeling of lack of stability. So these kind of cars are very nice to drive. So that's my experience with cars. I thought it's a talk worth and information worth talking, worth sharing. There are, of course, other things that we can talk about, but that's about cars. And of course, here maybe there are other people who are more experienced than me. My uncle is here. Maybe he can add on this. Especially the older you are, the more you know about cars, and the more you have faced more problems with them, and the more you know about the market prices for spare parts, and the better you know about how to fix them and how to change different spare parts at an economical cost, and what works and what does not work. that was my talk for tonight. I will see you tomorrow, 8:30 Amman time, with our daily broadcast, and hopefully we talk about a new topic that is very interesting for you and for me as well. And I wish you a great night.